Good evening. I hope you're doing well. I'm just going to wait for hopefully a few more people on. I really thought it would be necessary to come on. I know it's late. I've been doing research all day, and I just think what I've found, I need to get it out into the ether. So I'm just going to wait for the numbers to go up a little bit. Please try and get as many people on here as you can. Send them a message if you can. Get it out to as many people as you can. We'll give it a couple of minutes, and then I will start with what I'm going to be talking about. I'm not going to be on very long. It's just a couple of small bits of information. I think it's so critical that I really do need to get it out tonight, as I said, into the ether. They'll be hopefully seeing it, because half the battle is, there's two ways that I can do this. There's two methods in what I need to achieve in terms of the sharing of the information. That is to get it out to those people that are involved in this criminal network around the world, in the hope that they realise that they are so exposed and that potentially they are also being deceived, so that they stop what it looks as though they're planning. And arguably that's more important than me getting this evidence out to the innocents out there, because it might be the only thing I can do to stop this, is to actually get this evidence out to those people involved in it. As you can, whilst I this, like I say, I'm not going to be on here for too long. I'm just going to show you some of this evidence that I've done in the last couple of days, and it is huge. And I know this is so much to take on board. You know, a lot of people are, you know, with me talking about the crimes against the children and how that ties in with the falsified prophecies. It's so hard to comprehend that and to sort of think that it could be real. But I've got all of the evidence. The only other explanation is they have set a massive complex load of evidence up to make it seem as though that's what they're doing. But then the question is, well, why would they do that? You know, because the evidence is there to support everything. So it's not a case of undermining whoever's finding that evidence. It's not a case of they can use that against those individuals that are finding that evidence. A lot of people are verifying the evidence that I'm showing. And it's a huge thing to comprehend. I completely understand that. But here we are, you know, we've got this evidence, and I don't say anything unless I've got the evidence to fully support everything I'm saying. And I'm, you know, when I'm doing the lives like this, I'm actually showing the evidence as well. So what I'm going to be talking about is the satanic element in all of this, and also a little bit of the concern surrounding Baron Trump, so Donald Trump's son. And if I have chance, I think we touch on the earthquake evidence anyway, but I really need to do a whole evening showing the evidence in relation to the earthquake side of things, now how that's tying with the colliders and also the falsified tribulation event and the crimes against the children and how that all relates. So I need a whole evening to do that. I'm sorry it's so late doing this. So what we've got is a system of international government fraud around the world, and it appears to be overwhelmingly linking in with the crimes against the children. And now I'm just finding multiple connections into satanic cults, and this is the first thing we're going to be talking about here. So in May this month, the whistleblower Albert Pike had received from the devil. Now, if you're not aware of who Albert Pike is, he was a high-level occultist Freemason that supposedly wrote a letter to Mazzini, the head of the Illuminati at the Vatican, setting out the 3 World War deception. And this was back in 1871, and this ties into the Rothschilds' involvement in the Balfour Declaration of 1917, fomenting the 3 World War deception to bring about the light of Lucifer at the end of this. Now, obviously, just that document itself, I would be skeptical of, you know, believing it, but all of the evidence I'm finding actually confirms or supports overwhelmingly that that document is real. Okay, Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini, 1871, setting out a 3 World War deception to bring about the light of Lucifer And this ties in with what I'm going to be talking about here, okay? So, about the Albert Pike letter, and I'd already found Company's House records to an actual Mazzini company linked with Garibaldi, and I'm going to try and show you a little bit of that later. I haven't really prepared it very well to do that, but we're going to go through a little bit of the evidence just to help verify, to support what I'm saying in relation to that. And what I should do actually is get the document on the screen, so I might do that as well so you can look at it. What I found is from Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, Prince Andrew, Princess Anne, and other key members of the royal family, from the Freemasons companies. It links into an actual company that links to earthquake companies, okay? But anyway, this information here is new information to me that I didn't know about. The research reveals that claims that Albert Pike received revelations from the devil or promoted a Luciferian doctrine are largely based on a 19th century hoax, so they're claiming. Remember, they give us this information, known as the Taxil hoax, designed to slander Freemasonry, while Pike was a prominent 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason and author of Morals and Dogma. Historical analysis shows these allegations are distortions of the philosophical writings. Research suggests the Taxil hoax was an 1890s hoax of exposure by Leo Taxil, intended to mock not only Freemasonry, but also the Catholic Church's opposition to it. Taxil, the author of an anti-papal tract, pretended to convert to Catholicism circa 1884. So you remember, you got this letter, 1871. Now there's loads of evidence to suggest that, you know, there was an infiltration of the Vatican, and the Freemasons were involved in trying to modernize the traditional element of the church and lead the world into a technological future, leading into artificial intelligence, and also into the collider technology, which will ultimately destroy all of creation. And they would have known that, and they've had lots of people coming forward, according to all of the research, telling them there's a risk that all of creation is a risk to all of creation if they continue as they are, and yet they are pursuing it. You know, the likes of Elon Musk, Donald Trump, all involved in this, the royal family. They are escalating towards a prophetic conclusion on Earth. And the Freemasons are all the way through my research. It cannot be ignored that the Freemasons are a massive part of this, and they are linking in with the blood of the children all the way through this. And I've identified that by actually coming in from cases where the blood of children is mentioned as being drunk. So babies having their, I'm sorry to be graphic, their heads being decapitated, such as the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry. And now more recently, there's the same modus operandi in relation to that happening, or mentioned in relation to the satanic panic of the 1980s, I think, in America, where there was a school where over 300 pupils were all claiming that they had been sexually abused at the same time. Not literally at the same time, but this inquiry led to over 300 pupils saying this. Anyway, there was mention of the babies being decapitated as well, and the blood being drunk. So that's the same MO as the, as I said, the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, which was more recently linking in with Ricky Dearman. And then you've got all of these other cases. You know, I've got the adrenochrome document linking to Trump Towers, okay, straight to Trump Towers from the address. And then all of the research coming from a company called CYM from that document, linking into everything that I've already been exposing. And it's all tying in with Jimmy Savile. Obviously, you had Director of Public Prosecution was Keir Starmer, who it looks as though they were all involved in trying to cover up the Jimmy Savile side of things. Well, I think we know why. Now, with all of this evidence, it wasn't just about sexual abuse. It was something much, much more sinister, according to all of the information and the research. So anyway, the blood of the children, I can't ignore it. And I've now found the connections into the bloodstock companies, which is part of the horse trade, okay, in relation to the studs and the breeding of the horses. Well, that's the opportunity to hide the blood of the children through the bloodstock trade of the horses, and how that links in with the fox hunting on estates, which I now suspect, with the evidence, which is fairly overwhelming, to suggest they were using the fox hunting to hide the connection to the blood of the children, okay, and the hunting of the children on estates. This all then links in with the threat of directed energy and the removal of, or the banning of, lead paint in France, first of all in 1909. the same year that they actually founded the Secret Intelligence Service, which links to Ian Fleming, which means that links to my investigation directly, because it was Deborah Fleming that initiated my removal from Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited. And then this all goes back to, I can't remember the exact year, but it's in this part of the research, actually, if we come to it in a minute, linking in with Drax Estates near Wimborne. And fox hunting was introduced in Rome. It was from Rome into York, linking in with the Freemasons, who originally started in Scotland and York in the United Kingdom, first of all, and they were involved in the Reformation. And York is the first place, according to research, where fox hunting began. But I've now found a connection to Dorset, which is becoming critical because it ties straight into the Flemings, straight into the Doomsday Cult, into the end of the world Iona prophecy, straight in from Drax Estates, which is near Wimborne, which is right near where Deborah Fleming and John Fleming lived, okay, when they initiated my removal from the company. It's also where the creator of the World Wide Web that was created for CERN by Tim Berners-Lee, they also lived there. Okay, so I can't ignore this evidence. It's huge. Anyway, getting back to Albert Pike. So this letter was written, according to the research, by him to Mazzini in 1871, setting out the Three World War deception. Now, apparently that was removed from public view in the British Museum Library in 1977, the year that I was born. And this all ties in with the schism, I think they call it, isn't it? When there's a dispute within an organisation or something similar, a difference of opinion, which creates a rift. Where there was this going on in the Vatican, and how the church was going to deal with this modernisation and the battle between traditionalism and leading into a scientific future on Earth. Anyway, getting back to this, it all ties in with what I'm talking about here. So we've got the mention of Catholicism, and you can see here 1884 is mentioned. Wrote several volumes. Let's go back a little bit here. The Taxil hoax was an 1890s hoax of exposure by Leo Taxil, intended to mock not only Freemasonry but also the Catholic Church's opposition to it. Taxil, author of an anti-papal tract, pretended to convert to Catholicism circa 1884 and wrote several volumes purportedly in the service to his new faith. These included the adventures of one Dr. Bataille, a surgeon serving in the French merchant navy, who has infiltrated the Freemasons and observes their evil rituals as they occur all over the world. Buddhists, Hindus, and spiritualists were alleged to join the Freemasons in conspiring against the Catholic Church, and Botavale uncovers a secret inner order within the Masons called the Palladists. And now we're going to come in the Company's House records in a minute, and we can't ignore what it shows. Who take their orders directly from demons. As Dr. Bataille's tale unfolds, he introduces Diana Vaughan, a former high priestess of Palladism, who has converted to Catholicism and is in grave danger of assassination from vengeful Freemasons. In the Taxil hoax, Palladists were members of an alleged theistic Satanist cult within Freemasonry. According to Taxil, Palladism was a religion practiced with the highest orders of Freemasonry. Adherents worshipped Lucifer and interacted with demons. Now remember, the Albert Pike letter says to bring about the light of Lucifer through those three World War deceptions. In 1891, Leo Taxil and Adolphe Ricoeur claimed to have discovered a Palladinian society. An 1892 French book, The Diablo, whatever that says, in brackets, The Devil in the 19th Century, 1892, written by Bataille, actually Taxil himself, alleged that Palladists were Satanists based in Charleston, South Carolina, headed by the American Freemason Albert Pike, and created by the Italian liberal democratic patriot and author Giuseppe Mazzini. So this is Mazzini, who I told you about, who links to the research through the Company's House records to Gary Bordi, who was the head of the Italian military. Okay, and they've actually got a company that I think hopefully I'm going to show you in a minute. Dr. Bataille asserted that women would supposedly be initiated as companions of Penelope. According to Dr. Bataille, the society had two orders, Adelph and companion of Ulysses. However, the society was broken by French law enforcement a few years after its founding. A supposed Diana Vaughan published Confessions of an Ex-Palladist in 1895. Overwhelming evidence suggests that Taxil was right. Now, I'm just going to show you, this is where I just got that information from. Obviously, you've got to take this alone, pinch of salt. Okay, pinch of salt, just this alone. However, look at what the Company's House records, that is, show. Company's House records is the main evidence. Everything else is just supportive of the Company's House records. Now, people were trying to make me believe that the Albert Pike letter was a deception in all of this, okay, and that it was actually the one false bit of information in everything that I was uncovering. However, I think that they were infiltrated, and they were trying to make me say that because of what I'm now finding around it, and they were trying to deviate away from that. I cannot ignore the Company's House records. So this is just the information. You can go and search and read about it. The Taxil hoax. And this is the Baphomet, which is the symbol of the Church of Satan from 1856, which is the same year that a company we come to in the records in a minute with some of the research. And that is also when the same year that a German organization, like I said, we're going to come to in a minute, with the control of information began, which links to Robert Maxwell. And also it's when the Solent Museum, not museum, college or university in Hampshire, which is where Deborah Fleming had been the NHS chief executive, was also founded. Okay, and that links in to the research that I've acquired in relation to Elon Musk, but they've tried to remove some information, but I've actually secured it already in screenshots and got that evidence. So I'm trying to trip them up at every opportunity that I can. That was via a LinkedIn page that connected somebody to him, to Elon Musk, that linked him to a company called Jesus Copyright Limited, and within there was a person that was connected to the Solent College in Hampshire, to another religious establishment, and that company also connects directly to Stephen Hawking via Elon Musk on an incorporation document with the name Nigel Leonard Blood, which then links in with my dreams. Anyway, this is the information, but that is, as I've said, it goes on to say that he then claimed that what he had said was a hoax. Now, of course, he could have been pressured to say that. He may have been threatened. His family may have been threatened, etc. Now, what we're going to see suggests he was telling the truth, or it's starting to support that he was telling the truth. Palladinian Limited had been incorporated. I'm just going to get it up on the screen. So this is the Company's House records now. Okay, now remember, this was Palladinian. It was mentioned in the information about this satanic cult linking in with Albert Pike. Remember, and the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini, and I've actually found that it connects into Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, members of the royal family, and actual earthquake companies. And hopefully I'm going to show you a little bit of that later. But this company, you can see Palladinian Limited, was incorporated in 1993. This is 2 years before the Russian government-linked intelligence agency company called the Hackloit International Advisory Board was incorporated on Company's House, and that is shown on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, that connects most areas of the fraud together. And that also links not only to the intelligence agencies, to the royal family, as I've said on page 40 of that document, which actually links to me as well, which now, I'm obviously going to be someone important in all of this, potentially bloodline of, it's looking like I'm going to be the bloodline of Christ, potentially the 13th bloodline of the Illuminati, which links in with the blood of Christ and potentially also Lucifer. So, I'm right in the middle of all of this, and this would explain why all three of my families are connected to key individuals: Elon Musk, Jeffrey Epstein, Julian Assange, and the Doomsday Cult. They all link to Expo Manor Freehold Limited, even though they're different parts of the country. And David Icke, they're linked to, which is linked to the intelligence agencies. He came out and said in 1991 that the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. He links to intelligence agencies, and that obviously ties in with the earthquake evidence that I'm acquiring as well, and how this all ties in with the Vatican and the falsified prophecies. My family also links to, I think I mentioned Elon Musk almost immediately from multiple ways. The management company, the previous MP for Bournemouth East area, the East Cliff, where the company is located, where my investigation began in 2022, Expo Manor Freehold Limited, not my company, but a company I was a director for. The MP was Elon Musk. When you come in, not Elon Musk, Tobias Ellwood. And when you come in from Tobias Ellwood, from the research on Companies House, it links to Elon Musk. Again, Elon Musk also connects via another trail of evidence coming in from my brother-in-law's family, who is connected immediately to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited by somebody called Stephen Owens. And Stephen Owens was the managing agent for Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began in 2022, and then resigned, refused to answer any of my questions, even though we'd had no fire risk assessment done on the building since 2017. This was whilst I was still a director, and he's linked to the Russian government as well. And that building, where my investigation began, connects via the research immediately to the building where what's his name, Jimmy Savile, was living from 1972 until his death in 2011. Anyway, right, so much information. So here's the company. Let's have a look at I think there's something on the incorporation document. If not, I'll come to my notes. Let's just have a look at the incorporation document first, because it's, if I can get it, so it's 19. Oh, I think it wasn't available actually. Let me just go to. Normally it's the end, at the end there. Paladin Limited Incorporated. Oh, Ian Saunders. So it should be here. Right, so it's going to be in a selection of documents. Normally it's here at the end, okay, the oldest document, but it's not there. So then you have to go back through to, where did I see it? Okay, bear with me. Must have seen it, because I put it in my notes. Oh, it's because I've got that clicked. That's why. So let's go back. There you go. So you can see it at the end here. I think this is it. The incorporation document, normally the oldest document. On a PDF, you can just click on that and have a check. Now, if you go and look at what I'm telling you here, just type in Waterlow, which is on this incorporation document. You'll see that it was involved in the main currency production, because it was purchased by De La Rue. Okay, so if you search De La Rue and Waterlow, you will see that Waterlow and Sons was actually purchased by De La Rue, that became the main currency producer in the world. Okay, so what they did is they started obviously printing this money. There was no regulation over it. They were just printing it to the point where they were able to then produce so much of it that they were able to buy out practically the whole world through the production of the cash. So this is how they've done it. And that began with an organization called Portals. It's well worth looking at Portals. If you just type in Portals Wikipedia, you'll see that it was purchased by De La Rue in 1995. Okay, so Portals was founded in Hampshire, which is where this all is. Okay, Hampshire's in the south of England, where Deborah Fleming was the NHS Chief Executive Officer for Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset. They started printing the paper that was later used for the Bank of England banknotes, okay, in 1711. They then, in 1724, you'll see on the research, they started printing the money for the Bank of England in 1724. And then in 1995, De La Rue, that had started their life on Guernsey, which is an offshore tax haven location, obviously, which links obviously to Jersey and all of the other islands via, they actually created an informal parliamentary UK island group that's linked to Ghislaine Maxwell, and that was set up by Bob Seeley, who's the MP for the Isle of Wight during my initial investigation. He's now no longer an MP now, so he's massively connected into this, and he was also linked into the former Soviet Union. Anyway, you'll see that De La Rue purchased Portals in 1995. Well, that's the year that the Russian government-linked Hacklewitt International Advisory Board company was incorporated on Companies House. Okay, and they realised, when I started exposing that, they realised they were in trouble, and they dissolved that company in 2024. And you'll see it, as I've said, on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. And on that incorporation document, you will also see a monks company, which links into the religious establishments and the falsified prophecies. And you will also see Ingenious Film Partners, and that connects to me from my upbringing and multiple areas of the research. Anyway, getting back to this. So here you have Waterlow's. You also have this name, Ian Saunders, that is used right throughout the criminal network. So You can tell that it's a centralized criminal network because they're actually using the exact same name record. Now, that's probably a made-up name, a stolen identity, and then you have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of companies connected to the same name. That then links it together, and this is how they're doing it. And then they can launder small amounts of money through those criminal organizations they've set up into offshore accounts, and that's how they're stealing it from the world, basically, from most people who are being exploited through tax and other financial institutions. And it is, I'm very sorry to say, linked into the crimes against the children. And we're talking even worse than sexual abuse, because at the same time that Portals and De La Rue were involved in creating the currency around the world, there was another organization. If you go and look at Varney the Vampire, and you'll see it links to the Penny Dreadfuls, and what was his name, Edward Lloyd, created the character Varney the Vampire, and they also created Sweeney Todd. Now, the government have actually set up a Sweeney Todd group that centralized all of the, or most of the main solicitors in the criminal network to the BBC with a contract with Field Fisher, to the De Reyes, which links to Exmoor Manor, to the Vatican, to the murder of Jill Dando, if she really died. I mean, I think it's looking as though it's more and more likely with all of this. You know, I'd love to say that all of this isn't real and that it's all a deception, but the evidence I'm getting around the earthquakes, which I'll come into another time, either they've created those earthquakes, it's fairly strong evidence now, or the earthquakes didn't even happen. It's going to be one of those two things based on the evidence I've got. I would suggest at the moment it's fairly overwhelming. And of course, this ties in with the falsified prophecies and where they've been trialing their technology, it seems, from all of the research. Now, if you look at Varney the Vampire, that was a character that was created for the Penny Dreadfuls in the 1800s. If you search that information for the word Sittingbourne or Kent, you will see that it had the largest printing company in the world in Sittingbourne in Kent. Now, this becomes relevant to me. Okay, it looks as though I was brought up with all of these people, key individuals who are involved in, it looks like, vampirism. And I don't mean having teeth and fangs, but I mean the crimes against the children and how that relates into the blood. So you had this big factory, the world's biggest. At the same time, they were printing the Penny Dreadfuls for Sweeney Todd and for Varney the Vampire. Sounds quite childish, but I think Varney the Vampire was literally them within that character, because it talks about them loathing their lives, and Varney actually ended up committing suicide according to it. And at the same time, so that was in Kent, in Sittingbourne, right near where key individuals in this link into this, including my one of my childhood friends' wives, Emma Ailing, who was called Emma Lee, which appears to be tying in with the surname of the Cray twins' mum, who was called Jackie. I think it was Jacqueline Lee. My middle name's Lee. It's probably very likely that I'm going to be somehow connected into the Cray twins biologically, potentially. And the information suggests that King Charles's real name was Frederick Lee. And through the Company's House records, that is appearing to be supported because of the link straight into royal families, into Gerald McCann, into connections into my family. So this is being supported immediately from the research. Anyway, you'll notice this box here. Notice the name in the top. Okay, so you can see there should be a line. Notice how the line stops. Okay, line stops here going across the screen, suddenly stops there. This gives them the ability, this I suspect is a forged document, to change the company names as and when they need to try and commit their laundering of the money in relation to the criminal network. Now, this is our governments, this is the intelligence agencies, it's the heads of the military, heads of the police, the councillors, the MPs, Nigel Farage, Donald Trump, they're all involved in this, everybody, okay? And you can see the type's different, okay? Notice the typing of the Palladian Limited is different than the rest of the document. Okay, and it's not even on the line. You can see if you continued that a line across, it wouldn't be on the line. It's not even straight. Every other part of the document is consistent. It's on the line. This tells you they have the ability, or they have been, I suspect, changing the names on the incorporation document. Now, of course, they could have forged it a lot better. Now, it could be that they've become complacent and they've rushed it and they've just got away with it for so long that they've just nobody's ever going to find this, surely. Or they've left it for the right person to be able to find it and identify it. So anyway, we have this link in to straight away to the centralized criminal network. Now, as I've said, Ian Saunders of Waterlows is on the incorporation document used throughout the fraud, and Waterlows makes the links to the main Freemason Lodge, Donald Trump, the Royals, Jimmy Savile, CERN, the Albert Pinkletter, earthquake companies, Prince Harry, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, the apparent fate of Madeleine McCann, Julian Assange and the Doomsday Cult, my families, the Flemings, the police, and much more as shown throughout the document. Edgar Allan Miller connects Paladin Limited to UK Israel business that has been incorporated as Anglo-Israel Chamber of Commerce in 1950 before its name was changed in 1980, the same year that the Georgia Guidestones were erected, representing a man-made upcoming apocalypse. Its name was changed in March 2011 between the Christchurch earthquake and Jimmy Savile's death. So if I just go into that so you can see it. So we're in the same company, Paladin and whatever it's called. Just the name. There's the Waterlows. Miller, there we are. When was he appointed, actually? I don't know if I've noted that. Oh, yeah, look when he resigned. Look. So he was appointed in 1993. And look when he's resigned, as they're worrying, or they're doing it deliberately for me to leave a trail of evidence for me. It could be one of those things. You can see they very recently resigned from the company. Okay, as they're realizing I'm getting to the truth in everything. Now, there you go. You can see UK Israel business. Now, they were appointed before the World Trade Center disaster and then resigned after it. If we look at UK Israel, you can see the previous names here. Anglo-Israel Chamber of Commerce. Now, there's also an Anglo-Israel Bank company that has dissolved since I've exposed it. And that is shown throughout the research, and it's also on one of the pages of the incorporation documents of the Jewish Community Centre UK Limited. Community Centre UK. Jewish Community Centre UK. All right. Now, this isn't a Jewish thing. This isn't an Israel. This isn't an Islamic thing. This isn't a Christian thing. It's a very evil or lost and irrational group of individuals who have infiltrated all of the world, okay, through this. And it seems as though from all of the research they were set on an end of creation event, or potentially are still set on an end of creation event tying in with the falsified prophecies, okay, to fit the prophecies. So you can see here it was incorporated in 1950, changed its name in 1980. If you go and research the Georgia Guidestones, you'll see that Georgia Guidestones were erected in Georgia in America in 1980 this year, and they represented an upcoming man-made apocalyptic event. They were then damaged and destroyed on the 5th of July 2022, 3 days before I approached Anthony Roberts, which triggered my investigation on the 8th of July that year. You can see it changed its name in March 2011. If you look when the Christchurch earthquake was in New Zealand, which is all obviously connected to this, there's so much evidence now. And of course, this ties in with the falsified prophecies. You'll see that that happened on the 22nd of February 2011, a few months before Jimmy Savile died. There are various Met companies that I suspect relate to the Metropolitan Police, and Ivor Levine connects the company to criminal company Wiseman Institute Foundation, which is shown on the incorporation document of Jewish Community Centre UK, which is what I've just told you about, making a connection to the Royals, the Virgin Foundation, Geneva in Switzerland, which is where CERN is based, the Colliders, which according to all the research, I mean, it's massive, everybody. Like I say, the earthquake evidence is just now, I've got to say, like I said, they've either caused the earthquakes deliberately, or they've set up a load of evidence to make it seem as though they have, or they didn't even happen, the earthquakes didn't happen, and it's a deception. But it links immediately to Ghislaine Maxwell, Gerald McCann very quickly, and major areas of the criminal network. They also connect to Egyptian British Chamber of Commerce, where they were appointed in February 2001 and resigned in October 2001, either side of the World Trade Center disaster. The company was incorporated in 1981, and the incorporation document shows Chamber of Commerce in Cairo. So Harold Bealey is linked on the incorporation document to IBIS Security, Limited, which I think IBIS is a name, I think, to do with Egyptology mythology, I think. On page 26, and Roger William Pick linked to the Balfour Beatty, which will be Balfour Beatty, International Limited on page 31, which would, of course, as I've said, relate to the Balfour Declaration and the formation of Israel and tying in with the falsified prophecies again. And Frank Ian Ronaldson links to Arrow Limited on page 32, among others. So I'm just going to show you that. So we want to go into, I'm just trying to read now. So Ivor Levine. So we're within the Israel company. You can see. I'll show you where's the Met companies, which I believe are going to relate to the Metropolitan Police, because the chief of the police have all been set up as part of a doomsday cult. It's obvious. Every government organisation has been set up linked to this doomsday cult. Everyone, you can see there's the Weiner Holocaust or Weiner Holocaust. We'll come to that in a minute. Before we get to the other one, I'm just going to show you the. I can find the Met one. There you go. Met Property Management Limited. You'll probably find that dissolved after I exposed it. Oh, it's in liquidation yet, so they're getting rid of that company. Most of them are being dissolved or as the exposure continues, which is obviously a good sign. Project Met Soho in liquidation again. 2014 it was incorporated. Yes, the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom was set up in 1948. The Doomsday Clock began in 1947, same year as, I think it was, the NHS was set up in 1948 as well, I believe, is the same as the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom. And then they set the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners up in 2012 after they tried to, it seems, create a point of singularity using the technology at CERN. And that was set up, and that gave the ability to then, interesting, look, Grape Street. we use the word grape, don't we, to symbolize something that they do to women and men. Anyway, so there's quite a few Met companies there. What was I going to say on that? So the Israel-Arab War was also in 1948, which links back to the Balfour Declaration, the fermentation of what we're seeing in relation to Israel. And it even says in the Albert Pike letter, it says about the Israel-Gaza situation, okay, as part of all of this. So there's Ivor Levine, we're talking about, and you can see they connect to Wiseman Institute, which I've mentioned earlier, and also Egyptian Chamber of Commerce. And look when they were appointed. February 2001, which is before the World Trade Center disaster, and then 26th of October 2001 after the World Trade Center disaster. If we go into the document, you can see 1981, I told you, which is the year after the Georgia Guidestones were erected, representing an upcoming man-made apocalyptic event. Now remember, this is an Egyptian company. It's a criminal organization as well. It's not even registered legally. And if we look on the incorporation document, I'm just going to show you the information on, is it the last document? Sometimes you have to look in a selection of documents. Here we are, incorporation document. Okay. So further down, it was quite a way down, I think, on this. Okay. So there's the IBIS Securities. Now there's a name. We're going to come to this. You can see Sir Harold Bealey. Okay, he becomes very relevant. We'll come to him in a minute on the research. Here you can see what the other companies. That I couldn't read that. Rothians of Paul Mall, I think. You've got Tarmac International Limited, but the important one is the Balfour one, which is here, Balfour Beatty. Okay, linking in with the Balfour Declaration and the Rothschilds, Balfour Beatty International Limited. There's also Arrow Limited, which I said earlier. Now, if we go into the other research, I'm just going to show you the community centre Jewish. We've got the Wiseman Institute, remember, or the Wiseman Foundation. I'm just going to show you that on the Jewish Community Center, which is a critical company. Now I've got a lot of this saved offline just to try and secure it all. And notice, so here's Jewish Community Centre UK. Notice it started in July 2004. This becomes relevant to a visit by Prince Charles to Iran in 2004, in February 2004, and he visited an earthquake location. And that earthquake had happened in Iran on the 26th of December 2003, exactly a year to the day before the massive earthquake which caused the huge tsunami, as you're all aware, in 2000, where they did the movie for that called The Impossible with Ewan McGregor in it. So I'm going to come to all of that research later, but that is massive. I mean, you can't ignore the earthquake evidence now. Now, it dissolved in October 2017 after the Pizzagate scandal became exposed and Donald Trump was positioned, and it has an address of Finchley Road, okay, which is used throughout the fraud. They use various different numbers within Finchley Road. The most relevant one is the 790 Finchley Road, because that's actually linked to international dictators and mafia and corrupt politicians in an article. But if we look at the incorporation document of this company, it becomes very important in all of my research. And we'll look at you'll see the Waterman Institute, which links it back to what I've just told you, which means it ties into that satanic, remember, element in relation to the Albert Pike letter. All right, so potentially a very small number of people, okay, centralized everything. So here's the incorporation document. You can see Jordan's on it, okay, at the top, which means that's linked straight to Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began. And if we go down, now all of the directors, other than one of them, have an address in London. Okay, the other person has an address in Geneva in Switzerland, which I'll show you in a second if I remember. But this director connects to, you can see here, Charles Darwin Trust. That links immediately to Ghislaine Maxwell. Now they're a UK-US dual nationality. This is Bernard Bolkin. And you've got Trevor Shin and Quick Fit Group. This all becomes relevant, but let me just get to, you can see some connections to royal organisations somewhere in here. We've got Jewish Association here. Now, interesting, you've got Theory of Evolution, the Charles Darwin Trust on a Jewish company. Well, that would disprove the Theory of Evolution. And there they are with a financial, all right, they've got a financial interest in it and a legal connection to it on this document, which tells us they are not really Jewish, okay? And that connects on the incorporation document straight to Ghislaine Maxwell via Farah and Co., which then links back into the royal family. So it's an infiltration of the Jewish faith group. Just having a look on here. I'm trying to find, there are some prints. There you go. So you've got the Princess Royal Trust, which links throughout the fraud. You've got Jewish company. You've got RAC there, which is a royal linked organisation. You've got Royal Automobile Club there in the middle of the screen. So you have all of these. You've got a link to the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry via the Hampstead Theatre Limited there. Here's Dame Vivian Duffield. You can see she's the only one, okay, that is connected to Geneva in Switzerland. All of the others aren't. Now, when you go through in the records of her, she actually connects to the Virgin Foundation, which means Richard Branson, who's linked to the Jeffrey Epstein files. She's also linked to South Bank, and if you type in South Bank Child Abuse Inquiry, you will see that there was an investigation in relation to child abuse there, and that ties into a cover-up linking in with the Justin Welby and John Smythe investigation as well, the Archbishop of Canterbury. There's the Waterman Institute. Remember we said about it earlier? There it is. So that makes that connection. There's also a connection from, there's the Royal Opera House. You see those there? The Opera House companies linking with the Collider technology and the earthquake in Christchurch, because that was the name of the experiment at the time of the Christchurch earthquake when that occurred on the 22nd of November. Sorry, 22nd of February 2011. All right, they've hidden it, the connection into the Collider and the earthquake in Christchurch through the Royal Opera companies. Okay, because it's the same name. Notice they've crossed out the Apollo here, and that is because of the connection to the fake moon landing and the Apollo landing, and that ties in with NASA, one letter short of the of a anagram of Satan, and that links in with Charles. With 1958, when he was initiated to become the Prince of Charles, that's when they created NASA, and when he became the Prince of Wales officially in 1969, that's when the moon landing happened. Now, I've got loads of evidence now proving that that was a deception. It's looking very likely from the research that it was complete mockery of humanity, and they used the 3 planned escaped people from Alcatraz in 1962 to then be the 3 people, the astronauts, including Buzz Aldrin. There's so much research I've now got on that. I'm pretty certain that's going to be the case. And they never went on the moon. They never even went into space. And it was a complete mockery. So he set up this fake escape Alcatraz side of things in 1962, and then used their faces under a different alias name to go to the moon and deceive all of humanity. Remember, this is a complete mockery, complete deception, tying in with the satanic cult. You've all been deceived your entire lives. Okay, it's obvious. It's obvious now. So you can see, what else do I want to show you on here? Is there anything else? Elm Tree Books. I haven't connected, but I think that's going to link to the Elm Tree Guest House. Penguin Books becomes relevant, ties in with Disney, the research of Disney. What else have we got here? There's one that links from the, now it'd have to be showing in a trail of evidence. Oh, there's the Bank of Lumi. Remember I told you, if you go and look at Bank of Lumi, bank and then Leumi, you'll see that that's dissolved since I've exposed it. And that is the, as I've said, the Israel or Anglo-Israel Bank that I was telling you about earlier on here, okay? You've also got the Royal Institution of Great Britain, which links to this person, Baroness Susan Greenfield. Notice all London other than that connection that I told you about in relation to that other name. Forgotten the name now. We've also got HMC. Now that relates to headmasters of schools, okay? All the headmasters, I believe, are compromised by the crimes against the children. Remember, the whole system has been set up around the crimes against the children, everybody. All right, it's obvious now. All right, and the financial system has been set up deliberately to launder money in relation to the children and the innocents, and the blood stolen from the innocents using that financial system. Here you have Prison Reform Trust. All right, so the whole prison system's compromised. You've got, what else have we got? The protagonist. That links to Yoni Yezna, is the Memorial Trust. That links to somebody that was killed supposedly in a bus bombing in Tel Aviv. That becomes relevant in the research. You've also got this Portland Trust. Well, Portland is in Dorset. Okay, that's where Deborah Fleming was the NHS chief executive. Portland is the island there. And they actually used the stone from that island to make the facade, or facade, isn't it? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, facade. For the St. Paul's Cathedral. It was involved in the creation of St. Paul's Cathedral, but also it was involved in the Buckingham Palace. And this all connects into the royal family in a massive way. Here you've got the Rowley Lane Trust. That makes the research connection, I believe, into the Mark Rowley, the Chief Constable of the Metropolitan Chief Commissioner of the Police. And also you had his connected to him, I believe, was it Simon Rowley, who was the Chief Constable for Lancashire, and he resigned as a result of the Nicola Buddie case after that was all being exposed, which is all to do with this. It's all to do with what I'm exposing. Here you can see you've got the Anne Frank Trust, all a deception. So what they've done, they've infiltrated the Judaism, all right, used the 3 world wars to then bring in an anti-Semitism, okay, agenda, when actually it's not really Jews, but they've used the wars and the fake targeting, because that would have been exaggerated, okay, 6 million Jews, no, that was all a lie, all right, and that then gave them the ability to come in and use anti-Semitism to stop people targeting those fake Jews that were infiltrating the world's governments, okay, under the satanic cult element and this fraud, linking in with the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini. Okay, so all links in with the 3 World War deceptions. It's all a lie. everybody. There you go. You've got McCann Erickson. Okay, that links to Gerald McCann via the research. Madeleine McCann's father. You've got other ones, London and Jewish Culture Centre. Anyway, let's get back to the other information. So I've mentioned that. So remember, on that other research, we were looking on the incorporation document at Harold Beeley, okay, where he was born, you can see, in 1909 and died in July 2001 on the 27th. Okay, well, that is 2 days after Larry Silverstein acquired the lease for the World Trade Center. That's not going to be a coincidence, everybody. And then, by chance, Larry Silverstein was not in the building when it collapsed. Okay, and then he acquired a Liberty grant, which links to the paedophile information exchange via Harriet Harman and the National Council of Civil Liberties, which is under the Liberty banner. Okay, and they are not only connected to the paedophile information exchange, but they are also connected to the YMCA, which was set up in 1844, the same year that Companies House was created. Okay, and the Christian network has been completely infiltrated and compromised by the blood of the children again and the vampirism. But Christianity is, if I was going to say what's the truth in all of this, because you've got the love thy neighbor element in it, and obviously that means treat everyone how you want to be treated, basically in a rational state of mind. That is the key foundation of any faith in terms of a creator, isn't it? We've got the moral conscience from somewhere. In a rational state of mind, we all treat others how we would want to be treated. Well, they've gone completely against that, okay? And I think they've then integrated I keep calling it the Eurochrist, the Holy Communion, anyway, within the Christian network, the drinking of the blood of Christ and the eating of the body of Christ in the bread. I believe that is a complete mockery, okay, a satanic mockery against the Creator. Okay, why would you drink the blood and eat the body of something or a figure, if you like, or who you believe is a creator by eating their body and drinking their blood? It doesn't make sense. And that's because I believe now the satanic element that we've got in all of this, and we've all been double crossed. Okay, the crucifix story I now suspect was a lie, and I suspect the bloodline of Christ continued, and that was an X, which was the true cross, and the other one was a deception, a double crossing of the world. And of course, if the true bloodline of Christ is really here, then that changes absolutely everything, because it means the prophecies within the scripture are not meant to come true in terms of the falsified prophecies and the potential end of all of creation. So everything that they're doing then needs to stop, doesn't it? All right, if they're leading towards falsified prophecies using this technology, which obviously they're not the creator, and they've gone against the creator in the whole system they've got to reach that ability, then they're not working on behalf of the creator. It's a complete and utter inversion and mockery of the creator, a mockery of moral conscience, and it changes everything if Christ had a child, and that bloodline exists today. And that bloodline is very likely the second coming through that bloodline, okay, to try and save humanity, and particularly saving creation in all of this and saving the children. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that in 2027, Mel Gibson is bringing out 2 movies, okay, a 2-part movie, which is the resurrection of, not the resurrection of Christ, resurrection of the Christ, which suggests it's a different Christ than everyone has been led to believe everything was about, okay, about the scripture was about. So that suggests they know that there's been the deception within Christianity. And this could be why back in when I was starting to expose the fraud, there was a government bill that started, which was about the de-establishment of the Christian network, okay, the Church of England. They were actually, and the bill hasn't been completed. If you go and type in the de-establishment of the Church of England, you will see that they started. Now, this gave them the ability to, in advance, think about what they were going to do about all of this, all right, and give them the ability to remove the Church of England because of the deception within Christianity. Now, the first Bible was printed by a company called Gutenberg's. Now, Gutenberg's was a German company that started printing in 1440, I believe, And they started printing rapidly throughout the Reformation period, which was linked to Freemasons, remember, from Scotland in the 1500s, when they started forming governments, mind control and inversion, controlling humanity, controlling the information, and labeling a very small number of people to control the entire world. And now we're linking it into satanic elements, the blood of the children, into vampirism, and all of this other stuff that we're talking about. Now, the Church of Satan links to Germany. It was named after a knight, Valsch. I'm not even going to try and say it. If I had it in front of me, I might be able to read it. And that was a Christian knight in Germany. So it then links into Germany, and that was 1966, which is the same year as the German-English World Cup. Okay, the year before is when the main company in the fraud, 1965 was the main company in the fraud, and that was Jordan and Sons, was incorporated on the company's house that links directly to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began. Arguably the second most important company, the London Law Agency, which links to Madeleine McCann and Keir Starmer, was set up 1967, the year after the establishment of the Church of Satan. And that's when they started building the World Trade Center building, okay, in 1966. Go and research it if you don't believe me. And they completed it in 1973. And 1973 is when they started to use the SWIFT international transaction system for the international government fraud. And that SWIFT system links into the Satanic Church, or the Church of Satan, and it links straight to Exmoor Manor as well. They've got a company linked to SWIFT. I think it's the SWIFT UK and Ireland company, was started with the same companies as Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began. So it's a criminal organisation as well, and this is the organisation they were using to launder the money through into the offshore accounts to exploit and victimise all of humanity. So now 1973, they as I've said, they finished the construction of the World Trade Center disaster, and also MGM was involved then in bringing out a movie called Soylent Green. And Soylent Green was relating to a innocent police officer in 2022 is when it was based. Okay, now it was 1973. I wasn't born, and yet 2022 is when I was starting to uncover all of this after I'd left the police in 2018. And that movie was based on a book from 1966, loosely. 1966, the same year as the Church of Satan was founded, and the book was based in the year 1999, which is the re-establishment of the Church of Satan after its original founder died within 2 months of Princess Diana in 1997. Anyway, let's have a look at him. Let's go into go into his Wikipedia if I put it here, because he's very interesting. This Harold Beeley. Here he is. He was a British diplomat, as I've said, died within 2 days of Larry Silverstein acquiring the lease for the World Trade Center building, 27th of July 2001. He was a British diplomat, historian, and Arabist. After beginning his, what's an Arabist? Obviously to Arabia. An Arabist is someone often, but not always, from outside the Arab world who specializes in the study of Arabic language. Okay, so we can see the link into the Islamic faith. Now, it says on the Albert Pike letter that they aim to destroy Christianity and destroy the Islamic faith and bring about the light of Lucifer. It doesn't mention destroying Judaism. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So, but Judaism has almost certainly been infiltrated by the satanic elements in all of this. Pardon me, and how that ties in with the crimes against the children and the blood of the children. After beginning his career as a historian and lecturer following World War II, Beasley joined the British diplomatic service and served in posts and ambassadorships related to the Middle East. He returned to teaching after retiring as a diplomat and stayed active in many organisations related to the Middle East. He was born in Manchester, England in 1909. I'm not going to read all of this. Went to Queen's College. Did not serve in the British Armed Forces during World War II because of his poor eyesight. It's interesting. He worked at Chatham House. I didn't see that earlier. Chatham House relates to me. Chatham House is named after Chatham because of the William Pitt, who was the Prime Minister of the UK in the 1700s when the Portals was creating the money for the Bank of England. And he was the Earl of Chatham, where I was born, and they named Chatham House after him, which is where they had a think tank called the Institute of Foreign Affairs, which becomes very relevant. So that's interesting. He's got that connection. Before becoming a diplomat, Bealey was chosen to serve as Secretary of Anglo-American Commission of Inquiry on Palestine in 1946, 2 years before the Israel-Arab War. This is the same year that UNICEF began, which was supposedly to help children in times of international conflict, but it's linked into the crimes against the children. So it looks as though they set this organization up along with the deception around the 3 world wars, linking in with vampirism, okay, so they could actually target the children through the conflicts that are controlled through the deception of the 3 world wars and the Albert Pike letter, and then harvest the children for the blood and organs from those conflicts. And obviously, I think the abuse of the children was an offshoot or a byproduct, if you like, of the actual more. Obviously, it's all very serious, the sex abuse as well, but the more serious crimes against the children in relation to their blood. And you can see here we've got a link to the United Nations. And he finally worked on the Preparatory Commission of the United Nations in San Francisco in 1945, where he helped design the UN Trusteeship Council along with Ralph Bunche. Before becoming a diplomat, and they were all set up deliberately, everybody, it was all set up. Every government organisation, the whole system is set up to do with the blood of the children and the falsified prophecies, and all of this in what I'm talking about, everybody. The Jeffrey Epstein side of things, they were under pressure. They had to release some information, but obviously they've tailored it to sexual abuse, and they're hiding the real evidence of how it ties in with the Vatican, with the earthquake technology, with the colliders, the blood of the children in all of this, and the potential end of all of creation. He had a massive diplomatic career, and I do urge you to go and look at him because it's very interesting, all of the massive influential roles that he had. You know, you got the mention of the Suez Canal, the crisis where they were hiding evidence about that and it was potentially deliberate. You got in 1958, he left his desk job to be deputy head of the British mission to the United Nations. Well, that's when Charles was initiated to become the Prince of Wales, as I told you, and that's when NASA was formed. Anyway, you get the gist. Go and look at it. It's very, very important, all of that. So let's go to, where do we go next? Let's have a quick look at the earthquake side of things. Just a little bit. I'm going to do a whole evening talking about this. So Portuguese Chamber of Commerce obviously becomes relevant with... is that the right page I'm looking at? Hold on. Right, let me go back to... have I got rid of it? Oh, no, there it is. Obviously becomes relevant with Madeleine McCann. Okay, she obviously went missing in Portugal. Now, this is the organisation, you can see it was set up in 1980. Again, the year that the Georgia Guidestones were erected, representing an upcoming man-made apocalyptic event. It's a criminal organisation. It hasn't even been registered legally. Okay, and then when you go into it, you can see here this person connects to also the Italian Chamber of Commerce. All right, now this links in with the Vatican. So we now have the link in from Madeleine McCann, criminal organisations, into the Vatican via the Italian Chamber of Commerce, and that's via this Silvia Fazio. Now there's a name of Fazio, I think it's Fazio, that also links in with the collider technology from another bit of research, but we're just going to show you this for now. Italian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. You can see it was incorporated 1958. So we've got the year 1980 when the Georgia Guidestones were erected, representing an upcoming man-made apocalyptic event, and this one started the same year that Charles was initiated to become the Prince of Wales. It then changed its name in 1996. Again, it is a criminal organisation. Now, this is the, notice Princes Street. They love to use the royal mockery throughout the documents and the registrations. They'll put it throughout the details within the companies. Now, if we go to 2024, you'll notice here, okay, you can see 24th of June 2024. Registered address was changed from a company called Pini Franco, okay, LLP, Ely Place, London, Princes Street, London. Changed on that day. As I was exposing the fraud, that is literally just before I'm starting to expose the blood of the tortured children. in relation to this? Well, that tells you they were trying to hide something. So I then looked at it. So let's have a look at Pini Franco LLP. Hopefully it's still here. If not, I've got it secured on the screenshot. So this tells us, or it told me, I need to look at that potentially. It looks like the timing of it suggests they were trying to, it looks like they might have removed it. Looks like they might have removed that company. Hold on, let me go back, let me try again. Okay, so Pinot Franco. I might have spelt it wrong. My eyes are terrible. Okay, it is looking like they removed it. Let me just go back into the, let me just make sure I've got it. Oh, sugar. Right, let me go into my main evidential research document. They might have removed this. That's interesting. They have. Now, so far, I made a mistake the other day. They hadn't removed the connection, okay, in relation to the, not Vlad the Impaler. What's he called? Ivan the Terrible. Sounds like a children's story, doesn't it? I wish it was. Wish it wasn't real. I can't ignore it, unfortunately. However, there was a duplicate record. Okay, they created a duplicate name, and therefore that's why I couldn't find the company. So it is still there. So far, although they've told us they've removed 11,500 companies via the National Council for Civil Liberties, sorry, by the National Crime Agency, I haven't actually seen a confirmation of any removal. Now, I'm just going to check this again, make sure I've got the spelling right. Oh, Pini Franco. Okay, I got that wrong, didn't I? Pini Franco. Let's try that. Where do I need to go? Oh my goodness. So many screens. Pini Franco. Pini Franco. Oh, I don't know if I've had my finger over the speaker for a while. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so Pini Franco. We've got 2 entries. I'm going to have to go into my record. A separate search, I've got it here. LLP was incorporated in, as the Hamblin Partnership in May 2009, 4 months before the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Right, let's get on this record. Here we go. Right, okay. So 2009, that's the year I became a director of Export Manor Freehold Limited. That's also when the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated on the 29th of September that year. This is also when the second movie in the Da Vinci Code series came out, called Angels and Demons, and it was about CERN and the Vatican. The first movie came out in 2006 called The Da Vinci Code when I moved from Kent to Dorset, and that was about the deception within Christianity and the true bloodline still being alive here on Earth. And you can see here, May 2009, created, changed its name in July 2009. And then I need to look where I need to go from here. Rocco Franco connects this company to 12 companies, including Heartquake Limited. Rocco Franco. Talented Italians. Here we go. Heartquake. They were appointed in 2017. Now, if we look at the previous company name, Italian Earthquakes Appeal Limited. Okay. And they changed, and they look how it wasn't, literally didn't have that name very long at all. So it was after the Pizzagate scandal became exposed. They called it that, Italian Earthquake Appeal Limited. So that suggests the laundering money in relation to earthquakes. Now, of course, the motives, not only to potentially lead to a falsified prophetic event, to create earthquakes, but also, obviously, if they can create earthquakes and launder money through the reconstruction of those earthquakes, okay, and obviously it gives the ability to steal the children as well, like it does with an international conflict. It also gives the ability to take children from those wars or disaster zones, shall we say, but also, like I've said, laundering the money in relation to the reconstruction of those locations as well. And of course, it also works to separate you from the creator, because you're obviously all saying, why would the creator create these earthquakes and allow all of these people to die? Well, it looks as though it's them. It looks as though it's them. And remember, they're satanically connected, so they don't want anyone to believe in the creator. They want to separate you from the creator, and they don't. It seems as though they're a complete inversion of creation. I don't think they know what to believe. I think they're very, very scared of death. I think some of them, most of them anyway, and I think they have been taking blood and worked out a way to extend their lives, some of them, through the blood. And then it could be that you've just got another small group of people within that organization. Or if we looked back to Varney the vampire, okay, remember that character? They ended up committing suicide. Now, maybe that's how they're all feeling, and they don't want to carry on, and they're actually going to just try and end everything and tie that in with the falsified prophecies, because they can't live with what they're doing to the children and to humanity anymore. That's what Varney the vampire, if you go and look at it, that's as if they're telling us that is what they're doing. But of course, you know, if they want to get them rid of themselves, that's up to them. That's up to them. But no way should they be trying to end all of creation and link it in with a falsified prophecy. If that, you know, this is one of the theories we have to consider with all of this. Now, let me just go back and see what. So we've got this link there. Falsified period on Earth. This supports growing concerns with attempts of a falsified tribulation period on Earth. Dominic Augustus Pini connects Franco to 23 companies, including St. George's Club, International Jurists Limited, with jurists meaning writers of law, and a critical connection to Mazzini Garibaldi Foundation. Okay, it was incorporated on the 7th of March 2008. Now that becomes critical. Now I'm going back over this. That date, and I'll just show it to you. This is 7 months before the Hadron Collider was activated for the first time. But if we go into it, I'm just going to have a look at it. So Pini Augustus. So back to, where was that? Within the connects Pini Franco. So back to Pini Franco. Remember, there's fraud all the way through this. It's not just a case of there's earthquakes, you know, companies. There it is. It's fraud all the way through, criminal, a complete inversion against their own laws. Okay, so they're committing crimes all the way through this. And then we have Mazzini Garibaldi. Okay, so this now, if you go and research Mazzini and Garibaldi, you'll see Garibaldi was the head of the military for the Italian government, and Mazzini was, as I've said, the person that the letter was written to by Albert Pike, setting out the 3 World War deception. And you can see March 2008. Well, that is the same month that the Ninth Circle movie was released. And that links directly to my dream that goes to the control panel of the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva in Switzerland. And a technical fault that when there's a problem with the machinery, the technicians call it hell, or the Ninth Circle. Now, I then found a connection a bit later called to a company called Keller Group PLC. If you go and research it, you'll see they created the control panel for the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. Not only that, what else was I going to say? So, yeah, also, when they activated the Large Hadron Collider for the first time this year, 2008, 9 days later, there was a technical fault. Okay, now they've tried to hide some of the information about that fault, but I've identified it. And that exact same day as the fault is Stephen Hawking was involved in unveiling the Corpus clock, okay, which is a clock at the Trinity Christie part of the Cambridge University or college, okay. And through the research of that clock, via its creator with Taylor as his surname. It links into everything. It links to CERN via Siemens, which links to Jeffrey Epstein, which then links back into 2012, which is when CERN held a meeting with Stephen Hawking and Jeffrey Epstein on the 19th of April 2012. And 8 days prior to that is when there was a big earthquake. Okay. Now, they later, on the 4th of July 2012, publicized that they had identified the God particle, discovered the God particle. I suspect that they actually tried activating something on that day before the meeting, before Jeffrey Epstein and CERN, Stephen Hawking and CERN scientists met, and it may have created that massive earthquake. Because there's, I mean, I'm going to go through that when I go through all of the evidence in the research of the earthquakes. Right, so there's loads more. Let me just see if there's anything. Got to click to Camden Citizens Advice Bureau. So we've got John Andrew Zaney connects Mazzini Garibaldi Foundation to Camden Citizens Advice. Just having a quick look here. Document shows 23 to 35 Tavistock Place, a variation of address used throughout the fraud. Research suggests Zaney is a Westminster barrister involved in the case with a supposed Russian fraudster, Vladimir Ordrovich Antonov, and had been involved with Portsmouth Football Club in 2011 in Hampshire. So this links back into Deborah Fleming's area, okay, in Hampshire, where she was an NHS chief executive. And this is in 2011. This is the article, I think. And it mentions him. And now you've got mention there of 2007, actually. In 2007, Antonov's personal wealth was estimated 300 million. This is a Russian millionaire, so the whole collaboration is obvious now with the Russian government in all of this, which means, as I've said, all of the risks of conflict that you've been led to believe were happening is all a lie. Okay, and it actually links in with Portsmouth. If I just search Portsmouth Football Club in the article, you can go and search this yourself and just verify it. In June 2011, he purchased Football League Championship team Portsmouth after months of negotiations with the club. Okay, so this links in with corruption within the football organisation in Hampshire, like I've said, which is where Deborah Fleming had been an NHS chief executive. Now, what's his name? Rupert Lowe connects either directly with Portsmouth Football Club or Southampton, I can't remember, but they're both connected anyway. So Rupert Lowe is linked in with this deception within it. They're all connected in it. This is worldwide corruption in relation to children, the blood of the children, the falsified prophecies. They're all putting on a show. Okay, I hope and I pray this is a deception just for me because of who I may be in all of this. But at the moment, it doesn't look like it, and I've got to say that because then, like I'd be saying, that means none of the earthquakes were real. They've either done or caused all of the earthquakes, according to my research. It's pretty overwhelming, like I've said, or those earthquakes didn't happen and it's a deception. Now, either way, why would they set themselves up to be exposed to that, and how that links in with the blood of the children? Anyway, let's get back. I'm just going to mention Donald Trump quickly. There's loads of other connections from this. It links straight into my dreams from here. I'll be here all night going on to that. But Camden relates to, referring back to Camden Citizens Advice Bureau, critically, Lisa Gay Matthews connects to the Green Alliance Trust that makes an immediate connection to Zach Goldsmith, the son of James Goldsmith. The article suggests is the father of Princess Diana. The Goldsmith, there he is, that's Zach Goldsmith, including directly to the Grenfell Tower fire, as shown elsewhere in the research. Research shows that Mazzini Garibaldi Foundation likely refers to the collaboration of Giuseppe Maria Garibaldi and Giuseppe Mazzini, and the deliberate and timely removal of the connection supports that the deception of the 3 world wars relates to the Albert Pike letter. Now, if you go and look at Zach Goldsmith, he ended up marrying Zum Z-U-M Fleming, and he married her on the 6th of September 2022. 2 days before the Queen died, as of exposing the international government fraud. So it looks as though before they faked the Queen's death, they had to create some sort of legal tie between the Flemings and the Goldsmiths prior to that happening. Now, if we just go back, I'm just going to show you the evidence in relation. And actually, let me do this first. What time is it? How many people we got on here? 93. Yeah, I'll keep going. I can't see the comments. Forgive me. I just can't. They don't show up when I'm doing this. Shall I show you? Let me show you Trump first of all. Baron Trump, isn't it? And then I'm going to show you evidence that tells you no one is saving you, everybody. Right? And you need to save yourselves. According to the evidence. Let me just put. Oh, it won't allow to search 2 ways, will it? No. Bear with me. Barony. Baron's Mead. Sugar. Sure, I had that here. Let me search Trump. I might have already put it into the. Oh no, here we are. So literally in the last couple of days, someone has suggested that I research Elizabeth Trump, who was the paternal grandmother of Donald Trump and had the surname of Christ. Now, I'd heard about this before, but I hadn't actually gone in and researched it. Research shows that Elizabeth Trump, born in 1880, died in 1966, everybody. All right, the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan. It's going to be very relevant. The same year. She was a German and American businesswoman, and in 1902, she married Frederick Trump, who died in 1918. After his death, she co-founded real estate development company E. Trump and Son with their son Fred to manage and increase the real estate holdings. Through Fred, she was a paternal grandmother of Donald Trump, the 45th and 47th president of the United States. 4 and 5 equals 9. 4 and 7 equals 11. That's 9/11, the date of the World Trade Center disaster. And was born in Karlstadt, Kingdom of Bavaria, German Empire, and the daughter of Philip Christ and Anne Marie Nee Anthon. Catherine Trump's son, Frederick Trump, emigrated to North America in 1885 at the age of 16 and made his fortune within restaurants and brothels. Okay, so we have a link to the sex industry, which is a massive part of this international government fraud, and they use the, obviously, sex industry to corrupt people. This is why Jeffrey Epstein was important and others that they use, but they're trying to scapegoat Jeffrey Epstein. In 1885, at the age of 16, made a fortune in restaurants, brothels, and also the gold rush in northwest Canada. He returned to Germany in 1901, leading to his marriage to Elizabeth. This was the year that Queen Victoria, I need to change the spelling here and get rid of, where's the 2 words I saw? Leading to his marriage to. There we go. This was the year the Queen Victoria died on the Isle of Wight, and the White House was so named, the White House in the United States, that are connected largely due to the founding of portals leading to world currency production from 1711 and the coinciding link to vampirism in Kent. Following the death of her husband, Elizabeth Trump continued the real estate business he had begun. In 1924, which is the 1924, she changed the name to E. Trump and Son for advertising purposes. Research shows that E. Trump and Son became the Trump Organization, an American conglomerate privately owned company by Donald Trump. It consists of most of Trump's business ventures and investments, with around 250 of its affiliates and subsidiaries using the Trump name. Donald Trump joined the organization in 1968, the year of the schism, okay, the conflict of divide between modernizing the church or keeping it traditional in 1968. That's the year that is very, very important in all of this. And one of the Pope appears to have been potentially unalived that year within the Vatican, and the year before Charles was positioned as the Prince of Wales, and Companies House was based in Wales. This gave the complete control over the manipulation of the Companies House records to create the criminal companies, along with the conjunction of the implementation of the currency production that had already started, and how that ties in with vampirism. He began leading the company in 1971 after the World Economic Forum began, and renamed it in around 1974 after the World Trade Center was constructed and the SWIFT international transaction system started to be used, which is linked to the Church of Satan. He handed leadership to his children of the organization in 2017 after he had been positioned as the 45th president and the Pizzagate scandal had been exposed. So this is that information, just so you can see, I'm not making it up. You can go and look at it. 1971, World Economic Forum date. See all these dates. 1968, the year before Charles became the Prince of Wales. 2017, to his children, after the Pizzagate scandal was exposed. And there's Trump Towers, which links straight to the blood of the tortured children. On the CYM document, the address literally goes to Trump Towers. See, it was originally founded in 1927 as E. Trump and Son, 99 years ago. And you can see it mentions her name, Elizabeth Christ Trump, Fred Trump. So obviously his son, one of them, I think his only son, isn't it? I'm not too sure. I think he has a son and a daughter, doesn't he? Baron William Trump was born in 2006, the year that I moved from Kent to Dorset, and is the fifth and youngest child of Donald Trump. And he's the only child with his third wife, Melania Trump, which makes him a member of the first family of the United States, the Trump family. He is of German, Scottish, and Slovene descent. In July 2024, he co-founded a real estate company, which was dissolved after his father was re-elected to a second presidency. This was the exact same month that I started to publicise the connection to the fraud and the blood of the tortured children, which links to Trump Towers. In October 2025, Trump was proposed by his father's former social media manager as a member of the board of directors of TikTok, following a sale to an American company. This was after I'd exposed Trump's connection to TikTok and suggested it was being used as a countdown to their agenda, and the month I was released from prison. This was the month I was released from prison. In January 2026, Trump was listed as a director of the Solos Yerba Mate beverage company after being detained in Romania in 2000. Oh, this is separate. After being detained in Romania in 2023, the internet personality Andrew Tate said he had talked to Barron about the incident. In December 2025, the New York Times reported that an associate of the Tate brothers, Justin Waller, had said that Barron admired Tate and had spoken with him in 2024 of their belief that his Romanian sex trafficking and rape cases were intended to silence him. Tate was subsequently released from travel restrictions related to his pending criminal trial. Now, there is information, I haven't verified this, I haven't looked into it enough yet, that potentially Andrew Tate is linked to the original founder of the Church of Satan. A contact has suggested they look very similar, and I suspect I'm going to find that they are. The Tate Gallery had featured in the research, and I had suspected this may relate to the Tate brothers. So here's the information in relation to Barron Trump. I think I might have already... There he is. Dare I say it, he looks like a vampire, doesn't he? Baron William Trump. Now, of course, this all could be set up as a massive deception for me or for whatever, but my goodness me, the evidence is there. And like I said, all of the earthquakes would have to be fake. The World Trade Center disaster would have had to have been fake. All of these terrorist events would have had to have been fake. Possible? Likely? No. But, you know, here we are. I'm still very open-minded about how much could be a deception. This is that other information as well, and I'm going to be doing more in relation to Tate. A search for Barron Trump Companies House through Google on the 11th of May 2026 reveals, as of May, Baron Trump is not primarily associated with the Companies House UK registered address, but rather he has launched a US-based beverage venture and cryptocurrency project. Interesting. So I search it today, and it comes up saying this month he's not on. From this month he's not on the Companies House records. They've removed him. Okay, so I'm just going to show you that. So Baron Trump Companies House. Whether it will come up again now. Sometimes you don't get it twice, but Baron Trump. As of May, there you go. Yeah. As of May, there is no records of Baron Trump holding a directorship. Now, whether that meant there was before May or not, possibly not. That might be just their wording it. But you can see here, he says his business activities reported in only 2025 are focused in the United States. And as I've said, we've got that connection into it's mentioning again, Solos Yerba Mate. So that's where we're going to come in. That's as of April 2026. So very, very recently. Now, it's saying he's listed as a director, not on the one I've looked at. But obviously they're saying there is no direct connection to him. So that's interesting, isn't it? So is that AI picking up that he was, and now they've removed him as a director because they're realizing all of this is coming out? Who knows? But let's look at where that company leads anyway. A search for Solos Yerba Mate reveals that Yerba Mate Limited had been incorporated in 1998. Pennington's of Cannon Street address is used throughout the fraud is shown on the incorporation document. So here's Yerba Mate. You see 1998, sorry. Literally, it only had this first name, which is a shelf company name, which you can tell it's linked straight to the fraud from that, only from September till October. And on the incorporation sugar. On the incorporation document. And what we're going to be looking at in a minute, I think it's important I show you this as well tonight. I know it's getting late. I'm going to show you the police investigation, or one of many that they're supposedly conducting, that are corrupted by this and will be a cover-up in relation to what's going on. So they're trying to cover their tracks, destroy evidence, alter and conceal evidence in relation to this, okay, and make it look as though they're doing something. So here you can see Pennington's on there. We're going to come to that in a minute. And a quick look. Cannon Street, that links throughout the fraud. They use variations of Cannon Street address. So we've got this link to Pennington's. I don't think there's anything else on there. Pennington's directors number 1 is in the people record and has an appointment, has been appointed when the company began, and connects Yerba Mate Limited to 229 companies, including Pennington Solicitors Limited. They've been incorporated in March 2002 and dissolved in November 2025. So we're just going to go into that. So here's the company Yerba Mate. If we go into the people record, you've got Pennington's directors, appointed 1998. And then we've got Pennington Solicitors. You can see they were incorporated not long after the World Trade Center disaster, 2002, dissolved in November last year, as I continued exposing the whole criminal network around the world. You can see they changed their names here a few times. Now, if we go into the filing history, I think it is. Hold on, let's go into... As the exposure continued, this incorporation document shows Pennington's Da Vinci House, Winchester, Hampshire, where Deborah Fleming had retired as an NHS CEO and became involved in my inquiries at Export Manor Freehold Limited. It also shows Pennington directors on there, and the filing history shows that on the 11th of September 2007, okay, 11th September 2007, they changed their address. Okay, you can see the date, 11th September 2007. Changed it from Da Vinci. Remember, Da Vinci links to the bloodline of Christ. Okay, the Da Vinci Code movie. and you can see it had an address of Basingstoke, Hampshire. So they removed that address. Look at the date, 11th of September. Okay, now look at when Expoor Manor Freehold Limited. So that's the 11th of September. Not long after Expoor Manor. Oh. There's Expoor Manor, which is where I was a director. And there you go, you can see 23rd of August 2007. Okay, so literally within, what's that, less than 3 weeks, I think it's about 2 weeks afterwards, that changed its name, removed itself, linking it to Hampshire, because they knew it could be exposed as being connected back to Deborah Fleming, who was the NHS chief executive, and that links to the blood of the children through the healthcare system. Okay, if you look at the I'll show you quickly me on here so you know. There you go, there's me. I became a director in 2009, 2 years later, and I didn't resign. They removed me as a director, and then they positioned Deborah Fleming. Where's Deborah Fleming? There you go. Deborah Fleming was then positioned on the date that they removed me. Okay, she called the meeting to have me removed. They then positioned her. Alan May has a property in the same, so he claims, the same property as Jimmy Savile, and they then brought back Anthony Roberts, who had resigned earlier. So he then came back as a director. He was the acting chairman, and you can see prior to that his name. Swifting Corporations. You can see he resigned, as I told you earlier. There's Marcia Lynch. She also has a property in Jimmy Savile's property, and I think they actually took me up, claiming it was her property, and maybe it was then. Or I think that flat that they took me to was Jimmy Savile's old property. I'm 95% sure. Here you can see Anthony Roberts had resigned on July the 13th, 2022, which was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. A few days afterwards, 5 days afterwards. Okay, after I approached him, he resigned. And then other directors started then resigning. You had just having a look at these dates, actually become relevant. Philip Howard resigned then in November 2023 as it continued the exposure. Anthony DeRay had already resigned earlier in 2010. He's very relevant. He links to the Vatican via the research. Douglas Bannon also resigned November 2022. This was as I was making inquiries within Expoor Manor. And Carly had already resigned, but interesting, April. So Carly, I haven't really done any research on, but she resigned the same month that Jeffrey Epstein held a meeting with CERN and CERN scientists and Stephen Hawking. And if you notice here, because it becomes relevant in a minute, notice you've got Property Solutions Southern. Okay, that became a new management company in October 2022, which is the same month that they held an interfaith meeting involving the Pope. Okay, and Jeff Bezos was at that. This is according to the research, and I've secured it within my document. And Jeff Bezos, who was at that meeting, who founded, I think, Amazon, he was at that meeting, and he links straight to the records to Christchurch, which is where I worked after this, right near Bournemouth. That's where I was working. Of course, Christchurch is twinned with Christchurch in New Zealand. So remember, you got Property Solutions Southern there. So we've got the Da Vinci side of things. I've shown you that. Pennington's Directors Number 1 Limited has already been connected directly to Eurofins and my ring. The person who introduced me to my wife, the intelligence agencies, to COVID, the horse meat scandal. This is all from Eurofins. And from my ring to the Vatican, and information regarding the 13th bloodline of the Illuminati, which is the bloodline of Christ and Lucifer. This was established from the research of German company Langenscheidt, stemming from Robert Maxwell and World Information Control, leading to Julian Assange and a doomsday cult shown elsewhere. Pennington Directors Number 1 Limited also connects to Wimborne Road Residents Association Limited, that had been incorporated as Enfranchise 426 Limited on the 5th of September 2001, before its name was changed for the only time on the 17th of September 2001, either side of the World Trade Center disaster, as a registered address in Ringwood, that should say. I'll show you this actually. Ringwood, which is not far from Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, and where my wife's auntie, Michelle Down, had been the GP manager for that. So that links back in with the NHS and the blood of the children. And via that organisation, via that GP surgery, it connects to Exmoor Manor as well. And that gives the ability to launder the money through the NHS in relation to the blood of the children and everything else, the international drug trafficking network. Remember, this is a problem reaction solution criminal network right around the world. So they're creating the problems because that way they can continue exploiting, victimizing, targeting children, getting the blood, harvesting from humanity, linking in with the satanic cult in all of this. Now, that some of these people might not have known they were linked to the satanic cult. You know, Michelle, she claims, I believe, to be a Buddhist. Certainly her husband does, Chris Down. But now they do. And none of them are coming forward. Okay, and all of their families involved in this. All of my wife's family are connected into this, into the Freemasons. Whichever way you look at this, it's pure evil. Now, they all need to be coming forward. None of them seem to be, so they're all complicit to the crimes and the whatever may happen on Earth because of this. And they have children. So I'm just going to show you that because the dates are quite important there. So into Pennington Number 1 connects to Wimborne Road Management. Did I save it? I don't think I saved it, did I? Oh yeah, I did. I'll go back. It was there, wasn't it? I went into through there. Yeah, there we go. Pennington Solicitors. Go back into Pennington Directors Number 1. Now, I've only just gone into a couple of companies, so if I was to go into all of these, I'd find connections all the way through. It's the whole system is completely criminal, everybody, and they launder small amounts of money through it, you see, so it doesn't become quite as suspicious. So that's why they need so many companies, because they do. There's oh, no, it's not Eurofins. If they do it with too many big lump sums, you see, then it becomes too obvious and it gets noticed. So they have to do it with the smaller amounts. Lansdowne Owners, was that the one? No, there's another one. That is what becomes relevant, but now we're looking to Wimborne Road. But Lansdowne is an area near Exmoor Manor, so I think they've named that after that. If I go through that, I'll find something, I'm sure, but that will take a bit of looking through. Probably going to find something fairly quickly. Lansdowne Owners, not I recognise. SAF. Anyway, let me go to what I've noted, otherwise we're going to be here all night. Sorry, getting a bit diverted. Like I say, all of these are going to be somehow connected. I'm just showing you the ones that I picked, you know, that caught my eye, and then I decided to look into it. Hamble. Well, that'd be interesting to see what that means. Zarathustra, that's going to become relevant, I would have thought. All these companies have some sort of, you've got interesting look. The Kew Garden, Wimborne Road residents. Here we are. So the reason I picked this is because I knew that Deborah Fleming lived in Wimborne Road, Wimborne, and I know there's a Wimborne Road not far from Exmoor Manor, I believe, if I remember correctly. So that's why I looked into this one, and you can see I then realised that it was incorporated on the 5th of September 2001. So the World Trade Center disaster was on the 11th. So they then changed, incorporated it before, changed the name afterwards, and then not again since. And it is still an active company. Okay, you can see it's in Ringwood. Like I said, well, that's right near Exmoor Manor, not far away at all, about 7 miles, I think, up the road. And actually, the 17th of September is when they removed the or repealed the Genocide Act in Scotland. So in other words, they thought they could commit genocide once they repealed it. Referring back to Pennington Solicitors Limited, Bossy is in the People record and connects 62 companies, including Eurofins. Let me just change. Eurofins, like I told you, Eurofins connects to my ring. And if you go and research Eurofins COVID, you'll see it was used in the testing, okay, and it was also used in the testing for the horse meat scandal, which enabled them to cover up the children going into the meat processing, okay, into the food chain after they had used the blood and the organs from the children. I'm sorry, I know this is a lot to take on, but we need to know the truth in all of this. So if we go back to Pennington Solicitors, just going to show you this quickly. Hopefully I've got this right. Was it Franco surname? Oh, they're Bossy. There we go. Gianfranco. Franco. And hopefully I've got the right name here. A lot of other interesting companies. There you go. Eurofins Product Testing Services, Eurofins Microbiology London Limited. So they link to the intelligence agencies via my research. They also connect to almost immediately to the person that introduced me to my wife. And it links to, as I said, the horse meat scandal. And there's other things I can't remember without looking. Burns Property Management and Letting. Oh, yeah. Okay. So referring back to Pennington Solicitors, 62 companies, including... Yeah, and then if we go into the People record, is it in here? Oh, no, go back. Oh, I might have missed a bit there. In the People record. Is in the People record and connects to 62 companies. Burns Property Management. Oh, I think it might be this company here, actually. Wimborne Road. Sorry, that's why. I think if I go back to, where are we? So into Wimborne Road. What page was it on? 3, 4? Here, isn't it, somewhere? There we go. Sorry, it's because I've got I need to move those paragraphs around. So in the incorporation document, I think it's here. Yeah, here you go. Burns Property Management Limited. So now this connects to the the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom. Okay, and that's via this address, Hawthorne House, 1 Lowther Gardens. Bob Burns Property Management Limited connects to Exbourne Manor in multiple ways. The Doomsday Cult, you can see this address in Bournemouth here. This features right the way throughout, and it connects to like I said, the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, which links to Julian Assange, the Doomsday Cult, and to Robert Maxwell, and to Deborah Fleming, and to the Association of Police Crime Commissioners. Also, JWT South here links to my brother-in-law's family immediately via their company records, which also has Stephen Owens, who's linked to the Russian government, connected to their family organisation as well. I'm not going to go into that, but right, I think, is that it for now on here? I've mentioned that. On the 8th of May 2026, the Department of War of America Part of Waterman government, led by Donald Trump, released evidence regarding what they claim to be unidentified anomalous phenomena. I'm probably spelled that wrong. UAP. I suspect this is a deception, as the criminal satanic network becomes exposed to try and control their narrative and maintain a separation. Oh, it's so annoying when it's good that I'm reading through it and picking up on some of the spelling mistakes though. Separation from moral conscience. Remember, they're linked to the satanic cult. Conscience and the creator, as the exposure draws people closer to faith. Presidential, I'm just going to go into that. If you haven't looked at this, go and look at it. I haven't gone into detail because I believe it's a deception. But this is the website where they're now trying to claim that there's loads of videos of aliens and stuff being found, videos released and pictures, and I'm not even bothering looking because it's so obvious to me. Oh my goodness, so much I could tell you. This becomes relevant, the Immortals movie, but I'm just just to end tonight, because I'm a lot later than I thought, I want to show you the corruption within the investigations. So that'll be Crew, won't it? Hopefully I've got it in here and I haven't already transferred it. Okay, yeah. In May 2026, how many people we got on here? 87. Yeah, I'll carry on. In May 2026, I was asked to research the Crew cult after police had conducted raids. As of May 2026, Cheshire Police have concluded a major search operation in Crewe targeting the headquarters of a religious group called the Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light, or AROPL, following allegations of serious sexual offences, modern-day slavery and forced marriage. An article from the 3rd of May 2026 states, police have concluded searches at the headquarters of the religious group in Cheshire and say the building has been released to the residents. Cheshire Police said it was made aware in March of allegations of serious sexual offences, forced marriage and modern slavery, etc. And Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light reported to have taken place in 2023, as I was releasing the evidence of the fraud. The force raided 3 properties in Crewe on Wednesday, including Webb House, leading to the arrest of 7 men. That's interesting. Webb House, that is featured in the research I've just been showing you, and I didn't note it down. That's going to be relevant. And 3 women, all have since been released on conditional bail, preventing their return to Webb House. And the force said while searches were complete, it would keep officers in the area. It said the alleged offences involved 1 victim, a female member of the group at the time they occurred. About 150 people were understood to live at the base. The 10 people arrested were of various nationalities, including British, Mexican, Italian, American, Spanish, German, Swedish, and Egyptian. Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light was started by followers of Shia Islam at the start of the century, but have beliefs rejected by the Shia Muslims. Superintendent Gareth Wrigley, okay, you need to remember that, we're going to come to it in a minute, says, as we have stated from the very beginning, this is not an investigation into religion. Yeah, you're right, it's a cover-up of what you're involved in. He urged people not to speculate and added, our investigation solely focuses on the serious allegations which have been reported to us. 25 people were charged with public order offences during the raids. Now, they're not actually lying, because what this will be, I believe, is to conceal or destroy evidence in relation to the larger criminal network that I'm exposing. So what they're saying is the allegations I'm making, yes, it's an investigation, but not to resolve it, to hide the evidence. Okay, so they're not lying. Our investigation solely focuses on the serious allegations which have been reported to us. Yes, what I've been reporting, but you're using it to conceal and destroy the evidence, not to actually expose the truth and to prevent this from carrying on. And we're going to see evidence to support that in a minute. 25 people were charged with Public Order Act offences during the raids, but not connected to the investigation. Interesting. All of them are due to appear at Crewe Magistrates Court at various dates in June. Here's the article. Right, please conclude searches. You can see 3rd of May. Go and look at that, and you'll see on here the superintendent somewhere, because we're going to come to him. Here we go. Chief Superintendent, Gareth Wrigley. Okay, we're going to come to him in a minute. A search reveals that Ahmadi Religion, Peace and Light had been incorporated in June 2021 after I'd moved back to Exbourne Manor. So we have to consider they position this ready, realizing I've come back, that I potentially who I may be, and that they need to set up some sort of story. After I moved back to Expound Manor, it has Silk Route Legal of Bedford Row, appearing to reference the government's legal system and an address used throughout the fraud as an address of Nevada in the USA on its incorporation documents. So here's the company. You can see Silk Route. Now that I know, the Silk Road and Silk Route links into the legal system. Okay, it's even Silk Route Legal. Incorporated 2021 after I moved back to Expound Manor. Now, if we go into some of these, I'm just going to show you. I think I remember some of this. So we've got a connection here via Mohammed Irfan Al Murgu. I suspect this has all been positioned and is a lie by the governments involving the police, okay, to set up a false investigation, I suspect. You've got USAT UK Limited. Notice the address, 128 City Road. That connects immediately to Nigel Farage, the exact address of somebody who looks as though they're going to be our Prime Minister, okay, via this organisation. You can see it was incorporated in 2023 after I had started releasing the evidence of the fraud, or exposing the evidence of the fraud, shall we say. You've also got in with somebody else. Now you need to remember some of this, because then we're going to come into the Assistant Chief Constable. You've got the Hashem Security, or Hashem Security Forces Limited. Webb House, they said about that. Appointed in 2023. Okay, so after I'd exposed the fraud. Incorporated 2023, dissolved 23rd of September 2025, days after my arrest. Okay, where I believe, I'm almost certain, what they were aiming to do was unalive me in the prison, but because I made it practically impossible, they couldn't do that. And I think I managed to do that, probably because of who I am in this. There was a lot of signs. I actually think they unalived my dog, and that's why I've never seen any videos of my dog or any pictures, because I suspect they probably put her to sleep or something happened and they killed my dog. This is what I suspect, because they didn't think I was going to get out of prison. So we've got, where are we? Ahmad Religion incorporated in 23rd of September, dissolved, 4 days as my stage. Yeah, it has German directors on its incorporation document. I won't worry about showing you that. Abdullah Hashem connects the company to the 7th covenant. So this becomes relevant, because we're going to show a connection to the police in a minute. Oh, I want to go back to the main company. Is it this one? No. What was the name? Oh, I think this is it, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got the 7th covenant, okay? Now this company, again, started in 2023 after I'd started exposing everything, giving them the ability to set up, because don't forget, you've got thousands of people working on how can they stop my exposure? How can they, but without actually unaliving me? How can we stop Gary? How can we keep the trust of the public to ensure that we fulfill our agenda of all of this, okay? Because this is planned for centuries, everybody. On the incorporation document, I think you're going to have Companies Made Simple. I know that address links to Companies Made Simple, so I'm presuming it's going to be Companies Made Simple. I haven't actually checked it, but I'm pretty sure it will be. There we go. Companies Made Simple. Okay. See that? Companies Made Simple division. Okay. Remember this. So we've got these connections. And so now let's look at the police involved. A search for Superintendent Gareth Wrigley reveals a record of the same name connected to Stephen Ellis Construction Cost Consultancy Limited, where they had been appointed in 2010. The company was incorporated in 1998, and it has a registered address. Sorry, where they had been appointed 2010, has a registered address in Cheshire, so we can assume it's going to be him. It's where this raid happens. Has been a criminal company, having been incorporated with the same companies as Expound Manor Freehold Limited, and links to the Church of Satan and the blood of tortured children. Here's the name, Gareth Wrigley. You can see incorporated 1998. on the incorporation document. And I'm just going to go back into export manner so you can see it as well to verify it. If you're involved in this, everyone, you need to come forward in truth, repentance, and a commitment to change. How much evidence do you need to know this is over? It is over. You need to stop your agenda. You need to come forward in truth, face the consequences, right? Eternal judgment is awaiting you if you don't. I'm almost certain, everybody. Now, here we've got Swift Incorporations Limited. You can see on it. Actually, I won't go back into export manner. Hopefully, you remember seeing Swift Incorporations on the people record when I was showing it to you earlier. So there's Swift Incorporations Limited, and you have Jordan's Limited there. So straight away, via this, it seems, superintendent, you have a link into the main companies in the fraud. But not only that, we're going to show a direct link into that investigation, the arrests. Oh. Via a separate search reveals Stephen Ellis. Remember, this was Stephen Ellis. Okay, this company was Stephen Ellis Construction. This one shows reveals Stephen Ellis Limited having been incorporated in April 2023, and it dissolved in December 2023. So it wasn't open for very long at all. You can see that. So as I exposed the fraud, they create these companies thinking Gary's never going to, we'll get rid of him before he manages to expose everything. Little did they realise how far I was going to get with this. If you look at the people record, it's been blocked. Right, so they're trying to hide the information. Everybody, this is the police. That was a cover-up investigation. Stephen Ellis Fabrication, a different company. Remember, we've got Stephen Ellis all the way through this. Stephen Ellis Fabrication and Welding Limited had been incorporated in 2015, and it dissolved in August 2025 on the lead up to my staged arrest and what I suspect was a conspiracy to murder me in prison, as companies made simple on its incorporation document. The exact same company linking to that organization that they were investigating. So here you've got August 2025 dissolved. So that's just under, in fact, that's a month to the day before I actually carried out the strategy in Inverness. Okay, and then they arrested me on the 19th, a week later, because they realized that I am on the verge of ending their entire criminal network and bringing heaven on earth. And by doing that, it will expose all of them, you see. So they've only got two options. One is take their lives. That's not what I want. Second is come forward in truth, repentance, and a commitment to change. If they don't, then I believe they're going to lose far more than anyone else in all of this. So within the incorporation document, and there you have companies made simple. Now that links to the paedophile information exchange via the research, the National Council for Civil Liberty, and the World Trade Center disaster, and when they've actually removed an incorporation name from a document. So that's it. I'm going to go over to TikTok just very, very briefly. There's so much more evidence. I'm going to be doing a whole evening because obviously the earthquake evidence is probably the biggest priority. It still looks as though either they still plan to, or they had planned to create catastrophe upon Earth, if not create the end of everything via that. So, that's got to be my priority. And I'll be doing that in the next couple of days, hopefully. So come over to my TikTok on Gary for Freedom. And if you've got any questions, you can put them on there. And if you want to come on and have a quick chat, but I don't want to be on there for very long. So that's TikTok, Gary for Freedom. And I'm going to have a 5-minute break. So I'll say at 25 to 2 in the morning, 25 to 2 here in the United Kingdom. Hopefully it's a bit earlier for you wherever you are. So come on 5 or 6 minutes on my TikTok, Gary for Freedom,